The star that is back out is Alpine Star.
He came from last to first in some style, and he's just being set these tough assignments.
I actually think this is one of the best handicaps we've seen all season. Is it just as simple with this one as saying this is a steering job?
This is an absolute screamer.
Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview, where we're going to be looking at a few races from Ascot and York, and obviously the highlight of the weekend is going to be the King George at Ascot, which we're looking forward to. 6 declared runners at this stage, so hoping that we get all 6 run in that race. It's going to be well, potentially the weather could turn this weekend. We're not 100% sure. I'd rather the rain come this weekend and the weather come back for us next week at Goodwood, but we'll wait and see. And talking about Goodwood, Sunday 10 a.m. and Monday 10 a.m. our 2-part episode of our glorious Goodwood or Qatar Goodwood Festival preview will be coming to you guys. So we're looking forward to doing that. That's going to be filmed at the course as well, so you get some great shots and hopefully you'll have a clear day with a nice backdrop of the South Downs. But let's get into our weekend preview, and we'll start off with the Friday. At Ascot, the Valiant Stakes is a Group 3 over a mile for the fillies and mares. Indigo Girl is your favourite here, 6-4. Lights On 7-2. Waliak is 9-2. Declared Interest 7s. Elysium 9s. Dream Loper 11s, and Castena is 14-1. Jack, one of our anti-post hopes is actually running in here. In our anti-post preview, we're all quite sweet. Myself, you and Dave on Indigo Girl. The horse that was second in the Fillies Mile at Newmarket at the end of the season. Now, she was actually planned to go for the Diane, which didn't quite happen. There's been a few setbacks to this horse, but the horse is going to start its season now by the looks of things. Do you think that as much as she could be really classy, do you think she could be vulnerable to some match-fit rivals?
Yes, I do think so. I mean, she's clearly got the best form in the race. Of course, she won the Mayhill Stakes and then finished second in the Fillies Mile, as you said. And if you look at that bit of form, I think it's the best bit of Fillies form we got on offer. Let's not forget Mother Earth and Snowfall were both in behind her. But I mean, she's 6-4. Am I going to be backing her at 6-4? Absolutely not. She's had 287 days off, and 2 of her 3 runs are on soft ground. So, I mean, if we don't get the rain, the firmer ground could be a little bit of a question mark early doors. Of course, Lights On was very impressive at Pontefract last time out, over a mile, won by 10 lengths. It was 8th in the Kensington Palace on good to firm ground. So I think the best of her form has been on the softer stuff. But for me, there's only 7 runners, so there's not really an each way angle. Indigo Girl's way too short. I'll probably be having a little win bet on Dream Loper at 11-1. Sorry, I mean, if you look at her form this year, she had no clear run at Haydock on reappearance when finishing 4th over 7 furlongs. Absolutely rattled home that day. And her next 2 runs, she's just been in behind Lights On. Now, she was second to Lights on soft ground at Ascot. And I mean, she was definitely on top of the line. It was the smallest of margins. She was beaten by in the end. But I mean, she was just denied that day. And then again in the Kensington Palace, she was a little bit short of room, didn't look all that comfortable, but was only a length behind Lights On. Now, I think she's got an okay chance. I mean, she's 3 times the price of Lights On. So for me, at 11-1, if Indigo Girl fails to fire, I think she potentially has the run on Lights On.
Okay, yeah, it's not a race that I was overly keen on having a bet in at all. I'm with you. Indigo Girl is far too short. She is the classy one in the field, no doubt about it. But I'd love to see her really perform here and go on to better things this season. I personally think she's vulnerable to Lights On here, Jack. Very impressed at Pontefract the last day, and that was actually beating the third favourite in here, Waliak, one that beat Waliak by 11 lengths. So I'm going to excuse that run at Ascot. I think it was a large field. I don't think that quite suited Lights On. I think a small field may be better. I do agree potentially the softer ground would be better for this horse, but you know the horse has won on quicker going. So I definitely give Lights On a chance, potentially a match fit rival against Indigo Girl, but not a race that I'm overly going to be getting involved with. But for myself in that race, to me, Lights On and Dream Loper for Jack at a double figure price. Now we'll go over to York. We didn't really want to sort of discuss this race for too long, but we felt like we needed to due to the runners in here. It's the British Stallion Studs Filly Stakes, a listed race over 10 furlongs, and the star that is back out is Alpine Star, who is around 4-1 on for this race. Not a decent price at all, but there's no surprise with the rivals in here. 4 at 11, Vasella is 12s, Aristea is 12 to 1, Sea Empress 14s, Alavois is 18s, and Rosemary in Time is 100 to 1. Jack, second to Tarnawa at Longchamp and beating Ordaria in that race, who's now the current favourite for the Nassau Stakes. Second to Palace Pier, second to Fancy Blue, won the Coronation Stakes in great style. Is it just as simple with this one as saying this is a steering job?
Yeah, I mean, even I think a 30% Alpine Star will get the better of this lot. I mean, she's got £20 at least on the lot of them. I mean, if you look at the company which she was second to, Fancy Blue, my beloved girl, Palace Pier and Tanara, I mean, that's not bad company to be taking, is it? God, we miss Fancy Blue, don't we? We want it back. We wanted to see her as a 4-year-old. But there's probably one that I would be happy to take without the favourite. I mean, there isn't actually a price available for it at the moment, but that's Sea Empress. Yeah. Without the favourite each way. I mean, I think she's got an okay chance. She beat Tiona last year, was horribly keen and needed the run first time out this year. Beat a decent daughter of Sea the Stars whilst giving her £6 next time out, and then just didn't fire at Newcastle last time out in a Group 3 behind Zayada. But I mean, today she, in my opinion, she steals a £9 allowance, and I think she could finish second best if Alpine Star does fire. So for me, without the favourite, Sea Empress is the one to side with.
Yeah, completely echo everything you said there, really, Jack. On my notes here, I've put the Alpine Star is a steering job, doesn't even need to be at full fitness, and hopefully she'll go on to bigger things later in the season as well in Group 1 company once again. I've got down that Sea Empress potentially is the each way angle in here. I know that you're only looking at 2 places, but potentially without the favourite might be a decent bet in here. Tom Marquand booked to ride this horse, and I think Sea Empress might be the danger. So potentially, if you are one that likes taking one on without the favourite, that could be the one to go with. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how Alpine Star gets back on at York on Friday evening. Now let's move on to Saturday, and we'll stick with York, the Sky Bet York Stakes, which is a Group 2 over 1.25 miles. Mohafef is 6 to 5, your favourite in this race. Armory's 13 to 8, 1 El Cano 7 to 2, Montapham 10s, Bangkok 12s, and Ebery is 66 to 1 for the Scott Dixon team. Jack, I'm actually with Armory here. You'd probably say, Sam, you're going to stick with buy another favourite here, but no, I'm not. I'm going to go with the second favourite. I know they're both quite short, but a lot of people weren't happy with the ride that Shamey gave this horse at Ascot. Thought that it potentially gave the horse an easy time, and did come there with a winning run. I think actually went odds on in play at one stage, from what I know. I just think that this horse here has a lot of class on quick going. I mean, he was very impressive at Chester, and like I say, he came there with the winning run at Ascot, and he was only 3/4 lengths behind Ordaria, who had a real decent battle with Love. The doubt I have with Mohafef at the moment, potentially he is going to be really classy, there's no doubt about it, but he only beat at Ascot, he only beat the Dante Pacemaker in Roman Empire, and the horses in behind haven't exactly done too much from that race since coming out. So I'd prefer to be with someone who is experienced and is proven more at this level, and that would be Armory at 13 to 8, and he'd probably be my nap of the weekend, I'd say. Jack, what about yourself in this race?
Yeah, completely echo your thoughts. I think Armory is also going to be my nap of the weekend. I know he has to give Mohafef £12, which is an awful lot of weight. But for me, the only way Mohafef's going to win this is if he comes late. He didn't do much from the front. I thought he obviously drifted right in the Hampton Court. I think he's got to time that run to perfection. I think he looks quite tough to win with. I say that after he's won 4 out of 4 this season, of course. But I mean, with Armory, I mean, he was third to Magical and Gaiath in the Irish Champion Stakes last year. Let's not forget Sotsas was 4th in that. And I mean, the manner of that Huxley Stakes, we know what the pace bias is like. You've got to go from the front of the field. He came from last to first in some style. And I mean, of course, was third to Love and Ordaria when giving them £3 in the Prince of Wales. Now, I thought that was a magnificent performance. And you said, I'd be in the camp of, I think Shamey could have done more. I think they were just trying not to blow the Love bubble. But for me, the last 12 winners have all been aged 4 or older. I don't think Mohafef is going to be the first 3-year-old to buck that trend, and I think Armory's going to take all the beating.
There we go. So a joint selection with Armory in the Sky Bet York Stakes. Now let's go over to Ascot, and before we get on to the big one, there's a really decent handicap, the Heritage handicap on the card. It's the Moët and Chandon International Stakes, and Motor Kyle is your 5 to 1 favourite. Matthew Flinders 6 to 1. Dania 13-2. Aldari 12. Shine So Bright 14s. Dance Fever is also 14s. Cliffs of Capri 16s. Lord Rapscallion 16s and 18-1 and bigger the rest. Jack, I actually think this is one of the best handicaps we've seen all season. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is an absolute screamer. Daniel will have his day. Will it be here? Not too sure. Motor Coyote, I mean, that was just impressive. Doesn't do the word justice in the Bunbury Cup there. I mean, the way he kicked clear in that final furlong and a half and kept piling on the pressure all the way to the line with Frankie on board was just second to none. I mean, he's been given a rating of 118 after that. And the saying group horse and a handicap couldn't be any more poignant than this fella right here. I mean, he's only got a £3 penalty to contend with, but he's still carrying a lot of weight. I think you'd be putting your money in worse places than him at the 13-2, 7-1. But for me, he's got to give a stone to Matthew Flinders. Now, I know you're a bit of a fan of Matthew Flinders, so I'll let you do most of the talking. But I mean, he's been given a mark of 98, and I think that definitely underestimates his ability. He was second in listed company over 7 furlongs last time out, and perhaps that step back in trip has done the trick for him. I mean, it's Ed Walker, Sam. I love Ed Walker. I love Oshie Murphy. Oshie Murphy was keen on his chances at Ascot as well. Out of all the handicap runners he did emphasise the fact that he thought Matthew Flinders did have a good chance. I think in a mark of 98, he'll be able to exploit, and I think he's a decent enough price. I don't know what price he is now. What price is he, Sam?
I think he did shorten up. I think you can get him around between 6 and 8-1. I think he's around that price.
And then the last one for me, I like having a stab at one in this. And there's Caravana, who was 50-1 yesterday, has shortened up to 40-1 today. Now, he's been very inconsistent his last 3 runs, but he has one piece of form at Chelmsford on his penultimate outing, which is just very hard to ignore. I mean, he was drawn widest of all, had to go 3 or 4 round, or like the whole way, 3 or 4 wide round the whole duration of the race. But I mean, he showed a very good attitude to get up that day. And then if you're looking behind, Highfield Princess was the horse who he beat. Now, of course, Highfield Princess went on to win the Buckingham Palace Stakes and is now a listed winner. So, I mean, if Caravana can repeat that level of form, unfortunately, he's been drawn in 1, which isn't nice. But, I mean, at 40-1, I think he's a bit too big of a price.
There we go, a nice, decent 40-1 selection from Jack. Matthew Flinders is interesting. I mean, Ed Walker's horses are in decent form, obviously, with Starman winning the July Cup, and he could potentially have had a double that weekend in the Falmouth as well with Primo Bacho, who Jack would tell you was easily going to be winning that race, which was a really, really decent Falmouth Stakes, and we're probably going to see a couple of runners from that at Goodwood, which will be exciting, see if they can show their class. But the one that I've really laid my eyes on here at 14-1 is Dance Fever. He's a lightly raced 4-year-old, and he ran in the Buckingham Palace handicap at Ascot, and it was off almost a year off the track. So I would have forgiven him for any run there. He's now taken it. Well, he took a drop back in class into a Class 3 handicap at Leicester, did that very well, and now he's running off a rating of 93, which I think is an absolute gift from the handicappers. I think he may potentially be a 100 rated horse in time. Like I say, he's lightly races. There's still plenty of improvement in this horse. He was unbeaten as a juvenile as well, so I'm hoping that he can come back to winning form and find that juvenile winning streak once again. So so Jack, for yourself, the 40-1 shot was
Caravana
and Matthew Flinders is one that Jack and I both got an eye on, and for myself it's going to be Dance Fever at 14-1. Now let's end the preview with the big race of the weekend. Jack's potentially going to be there at Ascot to watch it. He'll probably get some images or videos that you'll be able to see it on his Twitter, but it's the King George and Queen Elizabeth Stakes, the Group 1 over mile and a half. The roll of honour for this race: Enable, Poet's Word, Highland Reel, Nathaniel, Galileo, Monjeur, Swain, Nashwan, Dancing Brave. There are so many decent horses that have won this race and gone on to big things, and a lot of people see this as a huge trial for the Arc, and I'm sure Aidan O'Brien's seeing that for the favourite here, and that's Love, the Prince of Wales winner and Runaway Oaks winner from last year. 11-10. Adire is your second favourite, 9-4. This year's Derby winner. Lone Eagle almost stole the Irish Derby where he finished second, 11-2. That horse is Mishriff, an international Group 1 performer, hasn't quite done it over here yet at 7-1. Wonderful Tonight is 10-1. Mud Lover, still a bit shocked to see that horse in there with the ground the way it is, and I think it could be a late withdrawal. I mean, it would have to absolutely hammer it down, but not sure she's going to be there. And Broom is 16-1, potentially a pacemaker for Love, or potentially Aidan O'Brien feels he might have a decent chance at double figure odds. Jack, a fascinating 6-runner field for this Group 1 here.
Oh, I think it's a brilliant field. You couldn't ask for much more. I mean, I'd much rather have a field of 6 with 4 quality contenders in than a field of 12 with 2. I mean, especially when we've seen Goodwood, all of these clashes turn into processions now. I mean, we couldn't ask for any more. I mean, I've never really warmed to Love. I do usually like to take her on, but that being said, I am actually with her here. I know she has to give £8, is it, to the 3-year-olds, but for me, Adayar, that was on good to soft ground. I'll have to see him do that again before I can believe it. Of course, Hurricane Lane was in behind, Frank that form to no ends up. William Buick takes the ride instead of Adam Kirby. Doesn't exactly have the same ring of it as a story, I'd say. But Lone Eagle, I was saying this to you, Sam. I'm quite annoyed that he didn't run in the Derby, because he was 40-1 in the Derby, and I know we were both kind of backing him for the Derby. So I mean, for him to come out and then be 13-2 for the Irish Derby and 5-1, I think, as short as for this. I mean, he did nearly steal the Derby, Irish Derby, as you said, but the best horse won on the day. I mean, he'll probably appreciate any rain that comes. Of course, he won the Cocked Hat on testing ground, and Yabir, who finished second there, has come out and won a group race. So, I mean, it's clearly good form. He's clearly a top-class contender. And Mishrif, again, as you say, I'd have to see him do it over here properly. I think Love's just going to continue her ascendancy. Since I think if they were going to get her beaten, it was in the Prince of Wales. She showed a great attitude over not her optimum trip. She's stepping back up to 1.5 miles, and I think she takes all the beating.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a bit of an easy selection, but I think Love should be winning this. I think the Prince of Wales run, beating Odario and Armory, like I said earlier, they both came with winning runs, and Love held them off, really battered, stuck her neck out. And I think she's actually going to come on tons for that run as well. I don't think she'll come on a bit. I think she's going to come on a hell of a lot. And I think Odario will as well, and she'll be going to win the Nassau hopefully next week. But yeah, I just think that Odario, I'm with you in the fact that I need to see him do it once more. If he does come out and prove that he can do it again against this field, a talented field like this, and I'd be considering him as potentially the ARC winner.
He'll definitely go favourite.
Do you think he would, though? If he won this, do you think he'd definitely go favourite with Snowfall still potentially the one, even with the weight and all of that?
Yeah, I do think so. I think he has to go favourite. I mean, it depends obviously the manner of which he'd do it, but say he beats Love in a ding-dong battle, I think he'll definitely be favourite.
If he wins, he goes ARC favourite. Okay, we'll have to wait and see. What do we make of Mishrif, Jack? A decent, like I say, an international Group 1 performer. Didn't quite do what was expected of him in the Eclipse. Was actually, I think, took second and then was outstayed for second by Adayab, which may not be the best form, especially even though that wasn't actually on Adayab's better going either. So, do we think Mishrif potentially just isn't a Group 1 performer in the UK? I don't know how to really describe it.
I think you're being harsh there. I think he's just kind of come up against some of the best fields that he will do. I mean, some Group 1s we have a look and say they're lacklustre. I mean, he's probably coming up against the best 4-year-old filly and 3-year-old in St Mark's Basilica on his last 2 outings. So I think he's just being set these tough assignments, which I think he has to. But for me, he's still an absolute mind boggler as to what his best trip is. Does he want a 1.2 miles? Does he want a 1.4 miles? I mean, obviously he's being stretched over a 1.4 miles here. I still think he wants a bigger field and a better pace to aim at than 6 runners, and hopefully he'll be able to grab a Group 1 over here at some point. But yeah, Sam, I'm not holding out too much hope.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So in the big one, the King George and Queen Elizabeth Stakes, Jack and I are going to both be with Love, who should hopefully go and do the business. That's it for our weekend preview. Like I say, we're going to be back on Sunday at 10 a.m. and then the second part of our Goodwood preview will be out on Monday at 10 a.m. We're so excited to be filming up there. Like I say, we're going to have some great shots, hopefully, and hopefully plenty of winners as well. I'm sure that Jack and I are going to be studying hard over the next few days to try and find you guys some winners. So do look out for those previews. If you haven't already, do subscribe. I've had plenty of subscribers actually over the last month or so. So keep smashing the subscribe button if you haven't already. Give the video a like. Comment down below who your nap of the weekend is. And we will see you on Sunday morning for the start of our Goodwood previews. Thanks for watching.